Okay, so I'd say what's really gotten us like here was the reporting this year, very specifically. While there's been like these past events that have been like these kind of close censorship calls, I mean, James has talked in other news sources about this, but the biggest thing was our new high school project, which started this year, and it was sort of like we were the guinea pigs for this new school design, if that makes sense. So it was a 2-campus system. They were busing kids between both campuses.
Right.
And Julia Gwynn, who is incoming editor-in-chief next year, she wrote this article on the issues of like the transportation challenges that we were experiencing. And I think that was one of the like call-outs almost, is what like came to ACPS as this thing that we were calling them out on, or some critical news. So I think that's what like really triggered this kind of, I don't know, this slippery slope of what happens after that. And then, yeah, so from there, our news stories have been, I mean, we've reported on so many things this year, like features, opinions, everything, news, and it hasn't just been ACPS or what ACPS is doing, or specifically our school. But I think anytime we kind of slipped our school in there, they started to be a bit more careful about like what they were saying, and I think they feared that we would be critical of them in like the way that we kind of had to be, because we needed to hold them accountable in this sense. And as students who go to this school and have this outlet of this newspaper, which with a big following, nobody else sees what's going on inside the school. So we felt like it was an important place, and it was still in like an even news story. So like it wasn't just us, you know, it was still within our AP standards and our editorial standards and stuff like that. So yeah, then from there, anything else we kind of wrote was a little bit like checked, and they.
Just to be clear, when you say they, are you referring to who are you referring to? Are you the school, the high school leadership,
It's a little.
Yeah.
It's a little foggy.
Yeah.
We have our executive principal, because our school is so large. We have very different principals for like each different area. But our executive principal has to answer to like the higher people in ACPS. So it really comes. The highest is the superintendent.
Right.
And
sorry, actually, I'll let you.
Okay, so from like the superintendent and like the things that she's saying, some of like that messaging with what we need to have our checks be had to come with our principal like enforcing those, but it really comes from higher up.
Yeah, and
so
just to go a little bit more in depth on what Isabel is saying. Yeah, so I mean the main thing started this year. Mm-hmm. So right now what we're having is essentially, after some of this reporting, I wouldn't even call it critical reporting, I would just call it, shining a light on what's going on. Other news outlets, like Isabel said, might not have been aware. Students definitely were, so we were in that position where we were able to do that. And it was really good coverage by Julia. It was a brand new system,
mm-hmm.
These everyone's trying to make our school a good place, right? No one's trying to be bad, and we of course know that. But at the end of the day, when things aren't, going smoothly, I mean, there's nothing wrong with reporting on that.
Yeah.
And we had kind of grown our audience over the past year or so, exponentially, because of some other articles about the removal of administrators from our school, a bell schedule that got a lot of parents a little concerned or agitated. That one was a little more silly. But the administrator one, that was a pretty big deal. Those were people's jobs, and the community really cared.
Mm-hmm.
So we had gotten some attention. And
this is all in this past school year?
So the administrator and the bell schedule was the end of the year before.
Okay.
And we wrote about, I would actually go back and say our first big story in the city was about the budget, the school budget. Right. It was not going to include a cost of living adjustment for teachers.
Yeah, that was last school year.
Even though, at the same time, other districts were including one. Right. So mm-hmm. a lot of teachers were upset. We wrote about that, got a lot of community attention. That mm-hmm. was kind of the first big piece. Yeah. And then the school board ended up, due to greater community conversation. I'm not saying we caused it, because we probably didn't, but it definitely led to a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
And they added one, and that's $1 million change. So slowly things like that were happening. People were outraged about the removal of administrators.
Which happened due to this new high school project.
Yes,
Right.
this was the lead up to it and stuff like that. Yeah.
And how long has the paper been around?
I think the
this was our
1950s.
54th
54th.
issue.
As Theogony.
Yeah, as Theogony. So
But-
our archives go pretty far back. I haven't seen archives from the 50s yet, but I'm still shuffling through them.
We have them from
a
the
lot.
50s, but there is under another name.
Yeah.
But a school, and clearly, attention to the community, it's being presented as such. This is, in effect, a community newspaper. It's a public forum where students have a voice.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
that's your understanding? That seems to be the community's
Everybody has
understanding.
a voice. Like our executive principal published an editorial this year,
Right.
and
Yeah.
students and
Well, I would say an
community
op-ed.
members. Yeah, well, yeah, an op-ed. So stuff like that is. This is really I would say a community effort. It's
Right.
not just us, but I think especially in the years that we've grown our engagement, these past 2 years have really been the biggest part leading up to this. And then when it comes to this year, is when we had to start really realizing, okay, what do they want to do with us now that we have this growing platform, now that we have this engagement, what do we do with it? And I think they were a bit shocked at what we grew into at this point.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's figuring out, what do you do with these students who have this very large platform at this point that grew this large?
And just to be clear, I mean, we've been a public forum for decades. I
Yeah.
think
Right.
what
Yeah.
Isabel's talking about is our readership growth.
Yeah.
And so as this new campus system was rolling out, there are these challenges. We reported on it. There was some growing tension behind the scenes at first, even last school year, at the end of the year, after our budget and administrators articles, the district PR department, public relations department, requested a list, permanent access to a list of all of our articles, and all future articles. They requested to be at all of our interviews with everyone at first. Well, it was unclear if they meant students or staff, but basically everyone related to the school district. And you can see how that might be, if you're a teacher trying to speak out on something,
Yeah.
if your boss's right next to you, it's going to be a little difficult, right?
Yeah.
So that we kind of took that as kind of, trying to take away a little bit of our independence. And then what we've seen this year, after these articles sharing about the high school project and, different challenges the district has faced, which frankly, they might have been a little bit embarrassing for some people.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just how the news is. And especially in this day and
you're
age.
confident about the facts and
Absolutely.
checking
Yeah.
sources.
Oh,
and,
for
yeah.
sure.
So you're standing behind the story.
We would
For sure.
never
If it's uncomfortable,
publish.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's exactly what.
I mean,
And-
news
It is.
can be uncomfortable sometimes, and especially when you're in the school board or in ACPS, and you're making these decisions that affect a very large group of people. I mean, you have to be prepared to have that spotlight shown on you sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. And if something's uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that it should be stopped.
Yeah.
Our
Right.
uncomfortable conversations are often our most important.
Yeah.
And after we started having those more uncomfortable conversations, then we see a proposed policy and regulation that are updates that for the first time ever that we know of, had an in-depth codification of a detailed procedure where controversial articles would go to at least 1 or 2 administrators. They would get approved by the principal, or else they couldn't be published. And just to be clear, our principal is extremely supportive of us, so we have
Yeah.
nothing against him. This was proposed and went through on the ACPS website. You can see each department it went through, eventually to the superintendent and the senior leadership team before it was made public. And it was a complete erosion of trust. I mean,
Right.
that it's a clear intent to suppress information when you're putting that out there. Not to mention, it also, the original draft punished students if they worked for city newspapers without getting permission from the district PR team.
Yeah, and we've done that. I'd like to spotlight that this like sort of like student work for these newspapers is really good for like teaching us the best way to do news, and it's also like a good way for us to get our publicity, and it's a good experience, and like it's just like a really good opportunity, and it's not like we were abusing that platform that we were given. It's actually really good. It's a good teachable moment for students, and we wanted that.
And I mean, that was just blatantly illegal. I mean, it's off-campus speech, uncontrolled, unrelated to school operations. If I email a teacher, or if I interview a teacher in my own time off campus, there's no reason the district PR team needs to get involved. Maybe they can get involved with the teacher. They have no business getting involved with me. I don't work for the school district. So punishing us for doing that is crazy. I mean, and it also revokes student ownership of work. So essentially any republication would have to be approved by the school district, which to our knowledge may even include submitting to a contest, submitting to a scholarship, things like that have to get approved. So it takes away, and that even applies to the magazines, the poems in the magazines. So now we have students are writing poems, they're submitting it to the magazine to get their art out there, and now the school district is saying, I own this poem, we own this poem. It's ridiculous.
And just to clarify, if someone like the principal, if you were doing an investigative report on something related to the school, I would think in almost all cases you would be reaching out to school leadership, certainly not looking for approval to publish, but looking for comment or looking for. Of
course, yes.
I mean, if it's something that affects the school's operation, those are people you're going to talk to.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're going to know what you're, just because of who they are.
Absolutely,
and what you're reporting on, they're going to know what you're up to.
Yeah.
And that gives them an opportunity if they, want to set the record straight, if they want to point something out, they can do it. But they don't need to do it in a way that shuts down the paper or shuts down the
Exactly.
events.
So that's what we commonly, we always reach out to the superintendent for so many articles, because at the end of the day, she's the biggest decision maker for our school district. And she's the one who has been, a lot of her decisions have stirred a lot of controversy in our community. And so it makes a lot of sense that we'd want her comment on it. And a lot of times it would be either declined or we'd have someone else, a lower level person, sent to us for comment. So we never.
Which is fine.
That's okay.
That's
completely
totally fine.
But it's just we've never really gotten her comment in our articles. And we understand that she is a busy person. We understand all of that. But it's over a lot of time when you're constantly declining this person who is actively trying to keep information or something is really interesting. We're giving you this place to say whatever you want in your opinion or anything, and you're not taking that opportunity, but then instead going through different levels of trying to suppress what we're doing, but more indirectly.
The place for anyone to get their opinion in an article is through a quote. It's not through trying to control the editorial process.
Yeah, and it's not through editing the article after it's written, which is what they were also trying to do this year, is where they asked for us to send them articles to edit.
Yeah.
So,
I think, we always ask, they know what's coming, and for about 13 years, even longer, there's been kind of a tradition, it's not a policy or procedure, where our advisor, if something was coming, they would just let them know, hey, we're writing about this, it's going to be published in the next day or two. There was never you can edit it now. It was just a heads up. As a courtesy, and we didn't need to do that, but we chose to. Like Isabel said, if they want to get their point across, the place to do it is in the article. It's not by controlling the process. I think, but beneath that though, there's a problem with transparency, because, that's not what happens, unfortunately. What we see much of the time is the school district is relying on written email statements from the board chair. We have a hard time interviewing people within the central office. Especially, like Isabel said, we've never been able to interview the superintendent for an in-depth story. Every time the PR department denies that request. We're frequently unable to interview tons of people, of the top leaders. And, you know, we do get, I don't want to make this sound like we don't get any interviews. We definitely do.
Right.
But, I mean, there's a pattern, though, where we're not able to talk to people again and again and again and again. It starts to seem like there's kind of protection being put up, trying to protect people's images or, you know, public perception versus actually, at the end of the day, you know, care for students and do the right thing for students.
And you have other newspapers in Alexandria, the Gazette, the Times,
Alex now. Yeah.
Do you notice that people like the superintendent are showing up a lot, quoted in a lot of those other publications?
No. It's this, like, I think that is another pattern that we have to recognize is it's not just us, it's these other areas too, like other outlets that we haven't seen that comment, we haven't seen anything like that. So when you really analyze that pattern, you realize they're trying to keep something. Like, they don't want their comment.
I don't know
it's
about
not like directly trying to like keep away something, but it's just this like not.
It's not opening it up.
Yeah,
it's not open. It's shutting down.
It's not transparency.
But it's also we live in a strange world.
Yeah.
Where things can get taken out of context, and you can have a governor who makes a political issue out of a single incident that happens in high school. You can have a president who makes an issue out of something that happens that's completely distorted and out of context, and often not even based on reality. So is it possible, do you think, that they are maybe taking a firm, keep her head down and out of line of fire approach, given the world we live in, with social media, with...
I mean...
I don't buy that because they're not keeping their head down, right?
All right. Well.
I mean, if you go to our website, I mean, especially in terms of, you know, there's been a rampage against DEI initiatives nationally.
Yes.
On the school website, the word equity is on there about 5 million times. There's not any kind of, which is not a bad thing at all, but there's not any kind of sense of laying low. I mean, when the governor passed a bill, or when, I don't remember exactly, this was my second story ever, there was something against transgender students. Many members of our school board and city council changed their profile pictures on social media to say ACPS supports trans kids. So in direct response to the governor's action. So clearly it's not laying low. Our city council doesn't do this. It's only the school district and the school board.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe they're like they want to stay out of the papers, whatever the paper is.
But I mean, the paper is not going to stay away from them.
I think they want to stay out of it when it's in directly like their decisions. So when it's this decision from the governor, they have no problem going against the governor. But when it's their own decision, then they don't want to talk about it if it receives this like kind of more negative thing from the community. And it's not just us, like we observe what the community sees and thinks about these decisions. So when you see that a lot of people don't like them, and then you see an even higher lack of comment from them, it's like it is just this pattern that's a curious one, and I think it just all goes back to ownership and accountability, which is all we're here for, really. Like news is accountability. And yeah, so that's what we just try and do, is just find where the accountability is, and try and just tell the story as clear as we possibly can. And I think it's hard to know that we're doing the story as clear as we possibly can, or as even as we possibly can, when we have this strong lack of comment from the people who are making those decisions.
Right.
And I also don't want this to come off as we're heavily criticizing, the superintendent
we
or
always seek
anything
that
like that. I mean, even in this conversation, like we have nothing against our school district leadership. They're very nice people. But I mean, if you look at the last edition of the Alexandria Gazette, not this past one, but the one before, one of the articles, the headline is "Communication Breakdown," and the deck is like, school district administrators routinely deny interview requests. And so it's like, going back to your previous question, it's a problem that the whole media is facing. I mean, this reporter really dug into them for just relying on the chairwoman of the school board written email responses for, I think he submitted dozens of requests. And I mean, it is a communications lockdown. You know, maybe it has a good intent. It doesn't look like that from my perspective. Maybe there is that, but at the same time, if we're trying to hold leaders in power in Alexandria, the school board and elected officials have made very clear that they'd like to hold leaders like Donald Trump accountable, accused him of being untransparent, and his cabinet. Well, why are we not holding them to the exact same standard?
Exactly.
Right, and just to back up for another second too, all the students involved with the paper have taken journalism one, or they're taking it.
They've taken it.
They all have,
They have taken it.
Or they have submitted.
Right. There's some other
evidence
that they are aware of.
So there's definitely a certain amount of training and skill.
This isn't just throwing these amateur writers into the ring and letting them write whatever they want. I mean, that's not at all.
You should see our Google Docs. I mean, I put literally hundreds of comments on people's Google documents for their first drafts. It's not at all like someone can wake up, write something, and it's on our website. That's not
never.
our process.
Although letters. Do you have letters to the editor?
That's
But
different.
that's
from us.
For any paper, not just your paper. That's always a.
And we still edit those. I mean, they're not
for clarity and length.
Clarity and length. We are not editing like
change opinions.
I mean, AP style, you know.
Yeah, but it's like we take what we do very seriously.
Yes.
So even though we are high school students, even though this is a class, everybody on our team and everybody who writes for this paper sincerely cares about what they do, and they sincerely care about getting that message out correctly, and like newsly, and just all of that. Like, we are fully for the standards that they've put in the policy that keeps us from being like libelous and slanderous and stuff like that. We always adhere to those policies, and we are fully on board with keeping those. And if anything in our past reporting has been in error, we have always been open to them changing that or letting us know of that. It's never been that us against
and we rarely get requests for that, but publicly you would think otherwise if you watch some of these conversations. But we've only gotten, I believe, one true request ever since I've been in Theogony. But I also want to say the best evidence that we take it seriously and that we're doing a good job is our reporting. I mean, this is not like, I'm not trying to like come off funny, but you know, this is not a typical high school newspaper. We've won, I think, 13 national awards this past school year.
And our site has just received a distinguished site, like
one of only
badge
70 in the country newspapers to receive this.
We're currently the best high school.
Yeah,
and we're like currently the best high school newspaper in Virginia. So like based on our
according to
awards
our site
this
host.
year.
I mean, it's a little subjective.
It's subjective to that, but like it's clear that we have been awarded these things that like show that we know what we're doing.
And not only, I mean, we had a story where we found in a report that about a school conversion, 73 pages into this report, it directly contradicted what school board or school district staff said at meetings for months. We reported on the plane crash in the Potomac River before the Washington Post, and we reported on, we were the only news site in Alexandria to have live election coverage. We projected the races. We had our own models. So it was like, we're doing things that the other city newspapers, even were beating them on some of this stuff. So to kind of, a lot of our criticism, which has been very little in the community, more from outside communities, has been, they're just kids. They don't know what they're doing. They need their school district to put them on the right track. Well, our stories that we put out there speak otherwise. Our awards speak otherwise.
Right.
We've been republished dozens of times in other newspapers. So, yeah.
So it also sounds a little bit like if they make the changes that they've talked about making, some of the changes you're opposing, it would come down in some ways to a question of honesty, in the sense that if they did that, they really couldn't continue to have the paper in its current look and format. They would have to actually brand it as official Alexandria City Public Schools publication. I mean, and it's not presented that way. It's not seen that way.
It's not because,
it's, in a sense, those changes, if they're going to continue to be honest about things, they can make the changes, I guess, but to be honest, it would end the paper.
It would end the paper as we know it.
As a paper, And
and turn it into a public relations newsletter.
Right.
And they already have those.
They already have those, right.
Yeah,
The
so
world does not need,
they don't need more PR.
PR.
They already have this whole
Right.
PR department. And
students should not be PR talking pieces.
Yeah,
I mean, I
we're
don't know how
not.
that's a crazy thing to say.
Yeah, like
Shouldn't
for
be
us,
crazy.
yeah, we're not the pawns in their like PR game. We're not the ones who need to convey to the public that their decisions are the right ones.
Which, first of all, if you think about it, that shouldn't be the job of a school district anyway, to go to the public and try to to convey that their decisions are right. It should be the opposite, asking the public, what do you think we should do as a community with your kids? How should we govern your kids?
But I think there's a legitimate role for the school to make a case for its policy.
I mean,
of course.
Show the evidence.
For sure.
The transparency, even in general, like I've been reporting on some redistricting stuff that's been going on this year, and a very common complaint from the community who is very much affected by this redistricting is that they are not being clear enough and transparent enough about why they're doing what they're doing or the decisions that they're proposing. So it's just this very common theme, and it's not even just news.
Right.
So there's just, that's kind of what we've been looking at. And then when we fast forward to like towards the end of the school year, like our biggest thing that we really advocated for, we all went to this school board meeting.
Right.
And we signed up for public comment. And there were, I don't know, like around 20 public comments, which
with many more in the audience.
Yeah, many more in the audience who just came to support for our newspaper. And they weren't even talking about our newspaper at that meeting. It actually got switched. It was supposed to be. But once they realized they needed to spend more, the school board was not discussing it.
Right.
And that was because, well, we appreciate this. What they did is they took it and they said we need more time. And they're establishing this committee to really think on it over the summer. So we're in this waiting period now.
Right.
But yeah, that school board meeting kind of really told us how many people genuinely care. And like these people who I've never met before. And they came and they like literally just spoke to the school board and said, this is wrong. Like you shouldn't be censoring these people. And yeah, it was just this really strong community effort, and I guess we all really appreciated that, and it was kind of really just cool to see. So yeah.
I want to be clear about one thing too, because I think it gets a little confusing. It's very nuanced. Our current policy too does say that our principal is the editor of our paper, the current policy that's in writing, and it says that the school board is the publisher, the principal is the editor. And that all publications must be approved by the principal. That's what it says. So, sorry, this is kind of going a little bit back to what you said earlier, which is if these changes come through, it would be a big shift. Well, that principal being in charge was never, ever utilized until now.
Okay, so in a sense, change has to happen.
Yeah. No matter
and
what.
it can go in either direction.
Yeah.
So what we were hoping,
right.
when we heard that this policy was going up for review, we saw it as a great opportunity for and to expand, like to put in writing, that we are a public forum, not just in practice, which courts have ruled practice is what matters to some extent. But to get that in writing, to have protections for advisors, we spent a long time creating this plan called Voices Unbound in partnership with the Student Press Law Center, which is a nonprofit. And we saw it as a great opportunity. And then when we presented our plan, we were really, taken aback to see the school district saw it as an opportunity to go the opposite direction.
Yeah. We were thinking completely different, like playing
We
fields.
thought they were going to kind of want to put protections in place for us and help us. But to see the opposite, it was honestly really upsetting for me as someone, you know, who respects a lot of these leaders, has worked with them on many things. It was so disappointing.
Also, we're at a point in American history where local media, Alexandria is to some extent an exception, but local media is just
obsolete.
On its last legs, and so much of the trouble is things like getting put out by private equity. Because at the end of the day, the value of good news reporting is not really profit driven. It's really not about that.
Yeah,
and
it's not.
The time to, you were referencing earlier the finding, the one page in the consultant report that showed they were actually doing something different than what they were saying. The time to go through those kind of reports is not profitable.
It's not, and we don't profit from this.
Right.
We are doing the same things that these people that are professional newspapers and are getting paid for this are doing, and we're spending all these extra hours outside of this class period that we have just to do it. So.
Right, and I think that what it highlights is that even if there's an attitude like, well, this is just student journalism. It seems like that's, for communities, that's more vital now than ever.
Yeah.
Because often you'll be the only outlet doing it. There are places around the country that a high school or a college newspaper is the only media outlet covering the local news. So it's important to support that kind of student journalism.
Yeah.
And it's also, like Isabel was saying, it's not fair to just say it's not important, dismiss it as just being student journalism. I mean, in Berkeley, for example, that the student newspaper, like you said, is the newspaper.
And Ann Arbor.
And Ann Arbor.
Right.
And in there are multiple places in Virginia.
Yes. That they need. Yeah.
They need it.
Yeah.
And it sets not only a bad example for the future of Alexandria, but for districts all over the state to say, maybe we should do that too, and slowly we're killing out the entire news industry.
Yeah.
And it's
and
just
at
so
a time where it's never been so important. I mean, like, when people's lives, just like living your life is a political statement at this point, like, just stuff like that, even in terms of just trying to cut down public information and cut down education and stuff like that, is we have to be present to, like, just tell the truth. That's all we need to do, and we need that everywhere.
That's all we're asking for.
All we're asking
We're
is
not
for
asking
permissions.
for much.
Yeah, to tell the truth. We're not asking for money. We're not asking to get paid. We're these students who just genuinely care about the truth, and we recognize the current, political situation, and we're not trying to turn this into this, whole, political campaign or anything like that. We're just trying to say that we need the truth, and especially more than ever, we need the truth. And I think that's just our main fight right now, is protect that and protect everyone's right to the truth.
Right, and I think there have been times when a lot of Americans have not appreciated the vital role that the free press played in the vision of government of the founders. And it doesn't mean that they didn't see every newspaper as, a great bastion of truth. I mean, the newspapers back then,
tabloids,
very partisan, all that. What they envisioned was, if you had this freedom, the truth would emerge from all of that.
Exactly.
250 years later,
it's a little
the
different.
problem is we have so few of those papers that preserving independence and the voice for any of them now becomes very important. It's almost like an endangered species act.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, and something we've heard a lot from our school board members has been, well, Jeff Bezos can control he can kill a story in the Washington Post if he wants to, and so why shouldn't we be able to do that to you?
But to be clear, if you talk to the Washington Post reporters, they make it very clear. Yes, he killed an editorial. Yes, he kills editorials, but he has not affected the news division.
Yeah. And also,
and if he does, many of them would leave.
And also, is that a good thing to be saying?
We
want to be like a Jeff Bezos censoring editorials?
They should qualify that with a bad example.
That's exactly.
That's not something you should aspire to be. So
Right. But again, it comes back to the sort of honesty. If what they're proposing is the direction they're going to take it, it definitely changes the paper.
Yeah, and
needs to be presented
exactly.
as such, as
Yeah.
a PR piece.
Yeah, and it's even by thinking of the Jeff Bezos thing is that's not your example of what's okay. And by like leading for that as like this is our justification for what we're doing to you is just using one wrong thing to justify another wrong thing. And I think that is kind of says a lot about how they view our paper and how they view their decisions about our paper. And just by like these small comments that we're getting, I mean, although very minimal, we can see a lot from them. And we've just talked to so many individually. We went to a PTA meeting and just like talk to the people. That's all we're trying to do is just talk to them. We are so involved in the community. So many people have come up to us all and just talked to us. And we love hearing from those people. And yeah, it's just finding out kind of how many people support us, but then also how many people are the biggest people at the end of the day who make those decisions, and trying to get them on our side is kind of the battle we've been fighting.
It should be kind of flattering if the people in power are putting you on level with the Washington Post. You know, in one way, that's very flattering.
Yeah,
if
that
they
is
think
true.
Jeff Bezos is a reasonable analogy, they must think you guys are doing some Pulitzer Prize
some of
stuff.
them do.
Some of them,
others,
yeah. I mean, we've gotten endorsements from so many people. Like our mayor, our mayor is a lovely mayor.
Well, let's share what our plan is. So,
I guess so. Yeah, our plan basically, what we've been seeking this year is to get those endorsements from our school board and our representatives and people like that. We even tried to go to like the higher up, like Virginia state level and see what we could do.
For Plan Voices Unbound.
For Finding Voices Unbound. That's what our ultimate goal at the end of the day has always been, is to get that.
And do you want to explain what it is, or do you want me to?
It basically just, it keeps our values of like journalism, keeps those basic things, but then it ensures protection for our student journalists. And we also want protection for our staff advisor, so she's not held accountable for any of our decisions. That is so important to us, because she does not make our decisions, she just advises, and that is her position. But we really, like, that is what we want. That is our ultimate goal.
And it also has, like, lays out the editorial process of where we're not having administrators or district officials, which the proposed policy says the superintendent can establish anyone she wants in the whole school district to review and edit our articles. So our policy would say students, the editorial process goes through the students and then to the staff advisor, and then if the staff advisor thinks it meets one of these 5 exceptions, for example, it's disruptive to the school, the Tinker Standard, or it's libelous, it is obscene, things like that, then our principal can get involved. But if it doesn't meet those exceptions, then students are the ones, which is how it's basically just keeping how we've been operating.
Yeah, and we've been operating like this, although our policy says that our principal is the sole editor. Our principal hasn't really like tried to take that action because it's never really been necessary.
Well, and I would argue that they haven't had that power to do so ever, because they know. I mean, our principal wasn't even aware that we had a school board policy on this until we showed it to him, because everything has just gone by practice. But also, like Isabel was saying, our plan, Voices Unbound, has been endorsed by our mayor, almost all of our city council, which we're still likely to have the rest of them as well. You know, tons of national organizations, National Scholastic Press Association, Student Press Law Center, new one. This is actually, I don't know, Virginia Capital Correspondents Association, tons of things. Our state senator, Adam Eben, the list goes on and on and on. The entire school student government, school board student reps, essentially everyone in our community and in national communities except for our own school board.
Which is so insane.
It's it's a little ironic, right? But so yeah, I mean, this is a plan. We drafted it, but I mean, it's been created by lawyers and experts in the field. It's not just some students scribbling down.
And we've been in contact with these lawyers, the Student Press Law Center, for this entire journey, and we've just constantly sought out like the most like the best thing to do and the best options. And it isn't just us coming up with this. It's multiple organizations who are experts on this.
And
so.
FIRE, I don't know if you're familiar with FIRE.
I am aware of FIRE.
FIRE, yeah. For anyone watching, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, they sent a 5-page, very detailed letter, 30-something citations, basically saying it's completely unconstitutional to do this, and
they
there's
sent
a
this to our
strong
school,
legal
like,
justification.
district. Yeah.
Our school district, they gave them a deadline to respond. They didn't meet that deadline, but
All right.
Yeah.
we're not. I don't want to speak too much to like our future action, but we're hoping that, this will sort itself out.
And that over the summer in the committee, as they're viewing this, and that all the time that we've spent in our editorial getting this out. Also, we have a petition that has like over 1,000 signatures on it now. So I hope that our biggest hope right now is just to, over this summer, for them to take that consideration, take all the community involvement, and just use the Voices Unbound proposal.
Which hasn't been endorsed by so many people.
Yeah.
We made it really easy for them. All they have to do is copy and paste that, and there you go.
All right.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both for all you're doing for press freedom and democracy.
Thank you so much for having us, Michael.
Yeah.